Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another amazing episode of Conversation with Freedom. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. She's so amazing. I've been following her work for some times now. She's a life coach. She's an author and a speaker. Coach Kanye, welcome to my podcast. And good to have
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I like your name, Freedom. That's such a cool name to give a child.
For because you've done a lot of things, I don't even know where to start. For some, you've been everywhere in the world, and I've been like, wow, following you has been like, wow. For someone who
Oh,
never heard of Coach of Khanyisa, please introduce yourself and tell us more.
yeah. So my name is Khanyisa, and on the internet I go by Life Coach Khanyi. I'm from South Africa. I'm from a small town in the Eastern Cape called Gala.
Yeah.
So, ndingumXhosa, and I currently live in Austin, Texas. I live in the States, but I'm at home now for a month, and it's been amazing. It's been so good. And I work as a life coach.
Yeah.
That's my full-time job, career, calling. I prefer to call it a calling than a job or a career. And I focus more on topics around self-love,
Mm.
overcoming people pleasing, living as your authentic self.
Mm.
I just burped. And I'm an author. I wrote two books so far. My first book was called Traveling While Black and Lesbian. I left South Africa in 2010, and my first country was South Korea, and I was teaching English. And I've been traveling now for the past 13 years. I've lived in about six countries, like properly lived there.
Wow.
And I've traveled to, I want to say, over 30 countries now. Finally adding the UK. I'm going to London in the next coming weeks. And then I'll add Europe in June, which I'm excited. You're like, she's been everywhere. I haven't been everywhere. There's so much I haven't seen yet. And
Wow.
my second book is called You Belong Here. And that's my first self-development book, which I'm really excited about. And I like what do I do for fun? I think people think I'm this like very serious person on the internet, and I guess
Yeah.
it's because of the work that I do, you know. Um, but honestly, my close network, which is a very small network,
Yeah.
they just know me as I think they'll say I'm funny. I think they'll say I'm naughty in all the ways. You know, I don't take myself seriously. I like to play.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's me. And thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Take us way back,
Yeah.
growing up in the Eastern Cape. What are some of your childhood memories?
Oh my God. I grew up with, I was raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
My mom was a teenage mother, and you know, when you are born out of wedlock, you belong to your mom's family. So I was raised by my grandparents. They raised me as their youngest. For a long time, I thought they were my parents. My fondest memories, man, it's like being in the garden with my grandfather.
Yeah.
He used to call me his little like briefcase. Like I was kind of like his shadow. I was always next to my grandfather, working the garden with him and my grandmother. I used to sleep with them. They would make sure I had food. It's just like those moments with him. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, to this day, apparently when I was 8, I remember this. I was 8, and I would say to them, when I'm old, I'm gonna live in America, and you guys will
Wow.
come visit,
Wow.
and I'll drive you around in my car and all these things. And now that I live in America, my grandmother is always like, you were this big talking about how you were not gonna live here. Um,
Oh.
and that's, I think I was so lucky. I talk about this in my books that I grew up poor. And
Yeah.
I think people don't know that. I grew up really poor. My grandmother used to cook for prisoners. She did that job for 20 years.
Mm.
And my grandfather was a priest of a poor, like really those poor churches in the village.
Oh.
But where I was really lucky is my grandparents allowed me to dream of a different life, like a different
Mm.
reality. When I would sit and draw my future houses and the things that would sit and they would be in this dream world with me, instead of being like, that's never gonna happen, or
Yeah.
you're not good enough. Like I was raised by people who allowed me to sort of see beyond what I was experiencing.
Mm.
And the blessing in that is that now I get to live out some of those experiences,
Oh,
and
wow.
some of those manifestations that I was allowed to have.
Ah.
Except for Oprah adopting me, she hasn't done that. But everything else, everything else has been it's been beautiful. And in a lot of my work, I credit my grandparents for just being who they were, and just allowing me to be who I am without stifling me, without like clipping my wings.
And how does it feel like living your childhood dreams? Like,
It's interesting. I don't want to lie to your audiences and say life is amazing all the time. It isn't. That's not realistic.
yeah.
Um, I am living my childhood dreams in the like when I was 8, the fuck, I wasn't even like I couldn't comprehend what it would mean living in a different country,
Mm.
right? And now that I'm older and I'm faced with the realities of living in a different country, having a different accent, being an immigrant in America, um, the conversations around being an immigrant and queer and black, and the work that I do. It's not pink skies all the time. There's resistance and there's struggle there, but not but and
Yeah.
the the beauty is I get to, right? Like
yeah.
I'm so grateful because I get to. And people who grew up the way that I grew up, not a lot of us get to. So
Mm.
my gratitude is always rooted in the fact that yes, I worked hard, yes, I stayed in school, yes, I had a grandmother who made sure I did, and all of that. And I don't take away my own spirit of hustle. I don't take
Yeah.
away my own spirit of working hard, and also realizing that I'm not a Christian,
Okay.
um, but I believe in like divine energy, and I believe in the universe, I believe in the ancestors. So the fact that there are all these divine powers that support me in that work and continue to, like, my practice, it's not how I want it to be yet, but it's growing to be that. And so I feel so supported in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Hmm.
There are a lot of kids in deep rural areas around South Africa who have dreams to get out of the hood, go out there and live. What kind of advice would you give to that little boy or girl growing up in somewhere, in what kind of message or advice would you offer to someone?
How old are these kids? Give me an age. Who am I talking to?
Yes, 9, 10.
9, 10.
Yes.
Stay in school. Um, Stay in school. I don't. People would be mad at this one. I
Yeah.
don't believe that education is the key to success.
Mm. You
I
need,
have.
you need to tell me more about that.
When I say these things, my clients are like, I know a lot. I know a lot of uneducated people
Yeah.
who are extremely successful,
Mm.
like like extremely successful. And these people don't have college degrees, they don't have university degrees. Some of them did not even finish high school,
Mm.
right? And so watching their lives, it's like education is not the key to success. What education does is afford you the opportunities to be successful,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Within the context of growing up in a rural area in South Africa, we don't have the access that these people do in the Western world, where they
True.
can quit school in high school and sit in their parents' garage and start a successful company. We don't have the
Mm.
internet in those ways, right?
Yeah.
And so I say stay in school, not because, and I also know highly educated, unsuccessful people,
Oh,
right? And so is it true that education is the key to success? No.
yeah.
But depending on where you come from and where you want to go in your life, education does open doors for
Mm.
you.
Mm.
Where if you were a rural kid from Ekala in South Africa, I
Yeah.
could not have lived the life that I live had I not stayed in school,
Hey, oh,
right?
yes.
The work that I've done, from teaching English to I had businesses in the Philippines, um, to I lived in Costa Rica, and all of these things, none of them had anything to do with what I studied in school.
Mm.
I didn't study how to teach English, but because I had a degree, I could.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's not about being like, oh, I'm educated, I'm gonna be successful. It is like I'm going to use the opportunities that being educated awards me.
Mm.
So stay in school. Um, and I think I don't know, I don't really connect with young kids, but I would say to an 18 and 19-year old who's
Yeah.
listening is you are too young to take life so fucking seriously. Calm down. And like
Wow.
like I watch 18-year-olds and I'm like, you take it so seriously. Don't stop, just play. I'm 39 years old and I play a lot.
Mm.
and, and I play and I weave in play because life will happen to you, right?
Yeah.
And life will humble you. And when we talk to teenagers, say authentic, it's like it's okay that you don't know who you are right now. You're too young to have it figured out. Your
Mm.
brain has not even fully developed. You don't know who you are.
Nice.
Chill. But also trying to discover who you are so that you can live an authentic life.
Mm.
Yeah. How 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 old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've traveled a lot. What is it about traveling that you like the most?
Oh my God. It is everything. Um, but I think more than if I were to choose a thing, my background is in psychology,
Yeah.
and if I wanted to study law, and it didn't work out, the whole law thing, and I ended up having to study psychology, and I feel like that was divine intervention that
Mm.
I studied psychology because I get to use it in the work that I do now as a life coach, which is great. And also, like, I love people. I love humans and I love all kinds of people. And so when I'm traveling, I get to learn Spanish. I
Yeah.
get to understand how people in Latin America like see the world. I get to learn Tagalog when lived in the Philippines. I get to understand different philosophies and religions. I lived with monks in Thailand, and I got to understand like what is it about this religion. When I lived in Malaysia, I was roommates with Muslims, right? And
Oh,
so I got to really understand Islam as a practice. So traveling, I know it's so cliche, and people who travel say this a lot, but traveling truly, it opens your mind. And
yeah.
not only that, it opens your heart. And like you
Wow.
get to see how big the world is, and also how small the world is. And that even though we are so different, I didn't grow up Muslim. I don't under it's a new religion. But when I lived with my two Muslim roommates, the similarities were so shocking, right? But we are when I was growing up, I was, and we're taught like Islam is bad and this and this.
Yeah.
And the beauty in Islam is it's incredible. And the love they have with each other and the support that coming they to a stranger, right? No one talks about that. We're just taught to vilify one another without even spending time with one another. And when you just
Mm,
sit with people and have conversations and eat food and walk in someone's home and watch them welcome you with love and kindness, I
yeah.
would say that's like been my favorite thing. It's just like connecting with humans who are different from me.
Then
Yeah.
living in the state, how is it like?
Um. Uh. It's funny. I was talking to my sisters about this morning.
Yeah.
It's like I want to say it in a way that feels grateful and grounded, but also honest. Living in the States is interesting.
Yeah.
America has been it's been such an interesting mirror to see how, when people think of America, they go, "Oh my God, America."
Yes.
And I had that too. I was like, "Oh my God, America." And I live there now, and I'm like, "Oh my God, America." you know? And it's
Yeah.
because the Western world has positioned itself, especially America, as this like big brother of the world. And
Yeah.
when you're there, you're like, oh, y'all have like huge issues, but huge issues that like unless you live in America, you wouldn't understand just how deep their issues go.
Mm,
And I say that as someone who is grateful that I get to live in America, and I'm grateful about what living in America has afforded me for the most part. And also, I'm not gonna live there for a really long time. And
oh,
the reason is I have I've seen the world, right?
so
And I've seen how developing countries function. I know what it feels like to not have to hustle in life. When you live in America, you're in this constant state of hustle.
yeah.
I've seen what it's like to wake up and say hi to your neighbor that is I don't know my neighbor's names. Do you know how strange it is to not know my neighbor's names? And for me, I grew up in the village, right? I know
Yeah.
all my neighbors' names. I know their names. I
Yes.
know their kids. When I
Yeah.
walk down the road, I stop. I say hi. I don't call grown people by their fucking name. I go, hi, mama, hi, bro. It's been such like a culture. Like I don't even know if shock is the right word, but
Yeah.
it's been like how there's a bit of like they call it the bubble, and I think what we take for granted sometimes as people who do and until we go to places like the Western world is
Yeah.
that sense of community and a village and knowing that if I run out of sugar, I'm not going to go to bed hungry because
Mm.
I can go to my neighbor's house and ask
Yeah,
for some
yeah,
sugar,
yes,
right? I can
yes.
knock on my when I lived in the Philippines, my neighbor would knock and be like, "Do you mind making my kids some food? I've run out of food and my kids are hungry." And I would make
Wow.
spaghetti and cook for her kids. And it wasn't a thing that I was, that she was embarrassed to do because we just could, right? And
Yeah,
so it's been very interesting to feel so isolated and alone
yeah.
in such a big country
Oh,
where you have small towns, and it's just like I can exist and function within community.
oh,
So you asked me how it feels to live in America, and you got really excited. um I would say living in America has been a lesson in what really matters in life.
oh.
I spent 2 months in Mexico last year, and I was in this small beach town, and I had a scooter, and I was at the beach most days, and I actually got a tattoo. It says ease on my shoulder, and it was just so beautiful to just like surrender to life
Yeah.
and not stress about shit. So yeah, and I won't take away this though. America is so good at making you feel like you can. If you want it and you work hard enough, you can get it. If you want it and you work hard enough, so I'll take that lesson. Like, go. They are very like, go work for it. But also, what they don't tell you about is like, there are some people where that's never going to be a reality for them. It can be for me because I'm educated,
Yeah.
right? There are
Oh,
some Black people of color who go to America and their existence is very different. Mine was very different too for a long time. Like I feel like I'm only starting to like come up for air. Being an immigrant
oh.
in America is not all that it's cut out to be. It's really hard.
The
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter movement. How is it? We only, some of us only read about it on social media and stuff. For sure, you've experienced some, you've come across, you know a lot about the campaign. Is it a campaign? Oh, but yeah, I'm sure you know a
Mm.
lot about the movement than us because we're just looking at it from far.
um, I call myself an African who is in America. I'm
Yeah.
not an African American. And
Oh,
I want to say that again, really, like for context. I'm an African in America.
yeah.
I'm not an African American, and I'll never be. And the the Black Lives Matter movement has been powerful in highlighting African American struggle,
Mm.
but it has sought out to do. I might get in trouble for this, but what it has sought out to do is to make those African American issues black, a global black person issue.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like what they are healing from, I'm not healing from. What they are angry about, I'm not angry about. And the disconnect for me, I wrote a piece on this. I was saying that it is so hard to walk around a country and see Black Lives Matter signs
Mm.
because I've never had to think about whether my life matters or not. And I grew up in apartheid South Africa for most time. I grew up in like post-apartheid South Africa, and we have issues around race and racial inequality here. You see it all day, every fucking day.
Yes.
But also, we happen to be the majority. We have for those of us who allowed themselves to, for those of us who have done the work of decolonizing our minds
Mm,
when it comes to religion and religious practices, and understanding what it means to be African, to be connected to your culture,
mm,
to be connected to your cultural practices, right?
yeah.
I was saying to a friend, I was like, I also extend a lot of compassion to Americans because I can call my grandmother and ask for a goat, and she can go and get me a goat and do a ceremony. So I understand like that forced disconnection to your ancestors. That must be really hard. Um, and also it's life is so nuanced. I don't want to say that Black Lives Movement is good or bad. It's a
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
And I think within the American, like within African American context, it's a necessary movement to have. But it is not a global Black person movement. Our kids are not dying of guns at school. Our
True.
kids are dying of hunger and drugs on the streets. It's different.
Yes.
Our people are not dying at the rates that African Americans are from police brutality. Our kids are dying from rape and murder and homophobia and poverty, right? And so it's an entirely different movement. It cannot be applied to everywhere in the world.
And then since you travel a lot, how do you keep up with friends? Because I'm sure the time difference is sometimes just getting
I
away.
know. I know. My friends in the States have been like, yo, are we not friends anymore? Um, I I don't have a lot of friends. I
Oh.
have a lot of and I'll tell you this. When I was younger, I had so many friends, and my grandmother would be like, "You have so many friends." I'm like, "It's fine. You don't understand." As you grow older, you learn the importance of keeping your circle small. It becomes less about the quantity of your friendship, and it becomes more about the quality of your friendships. I'm so happy with my 5 friends. And these are people that I know if I whatever time I call, they'll pick up
Yeah.
and they'll talk. And these are people that I know will sometimes even take up the battle and they'll fight it for me, right?
Yeah.
And I do the same for them. And so with them, I'm able to keep in contact with. Now I have acquaintances and I have friendships, like I'm going to be in London and have dinner with a friend. I'm going to be anywhere in the world. I'll be there and I'll post with a friend. And I'm liking that. But when it comes to like a sisterhood, um, I mean, I do have a male best friend, but like when it comes to the quality of my friendships, I don't have too many to keep up with.
You are so amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh. Wow, you've said that you will move from America. Are you coming back home or you want to move to another country?
No, I'm my partner and I, she's from Colombia,
Yeah.
and she's moving to Colombia later on in the year, and I'll join her next year. So that's the plan right now. I've never been to Colombia, so I'm learning Spanish. She's teaching me a bit of Spanish. I'm teaching her Xhosa, so it's fun to do like a language
Wow.
exchange with her. And yeah, so I'm considering, not considering, she'll be mad if I said I was considering. But yeah, we're moving. It's like she has a farm in Colombia, and I'm gonna go be a farm lesbian. I'm really excited about it.
And speaking about your partner, please share with us your coming out story because it's so amazing. I saw it on YouTube and I was like, you
Oh,
need
you
to
watched?
share it
Oh my
with
God,
my audience.
that's such an old video.
Yeah,
Um, are you gay?
no,
You're not gay.
yeah.
Okay. Why do you want to share? I'm curious. Why the coming out story? Why is that a story you wanted me to share?
The thing with my podcast is that I host people from all walks of life. I've
Hmm.
and I've never hosted anyone who's gay. So I wanted you to come and share your story.
Okay.
Yes.
I um I came out to my family when I was 27,
Eh,
and I lived in South Korea at the time. I was in a different relationship and it was very serious, and I was like, I don't want to be closeted anymore. I'm in love. And I so when I came out, the first family member I'd come out to was my aunt,
mm.
and she didn't receive it well. She said I was gonna go to hell and all
Oh,
those things that gay kids hear from religious family members. And then 3 days after, she just was like, "Are you happy?" And I was like, "I'm really happy." And she's like, "That's all that matters."
mm,
Um, and I feel like, the notion of coming out for me has been shifted a lot, especially because of my work.
yeah.
I heard this from Karamo, who's one of the Queer Five in Queer Eye. It's a Netflix TV show. And he was like, coming out is riddled with so much shame. It
Mm,
is implying that you were hiding. And the way that he shifts it is, I we're not coming out, we're inviting people in, right? We're
oh,
inviting people into our lives, we're inviting people into our stories. And those people get to decide if they want to participate or not. And the hurt and pain is that people that you love can decide not to, right?
yeah.
And so for me, for a long time, it felt like people were deciding not to. And it's been so beautiful now to come home and tell my family about my partner and tell my even my grandmother, she was like, well, I'm trying to December, and to have those conversations. It's been
Mm,
such a healing journey. And if there are any of your queer audiences listening, queer questioning, whatever it is, like,
yeah.
people will see that this is who you are. And I promise you, I swear, it really gets better. It really, really does.
Please hold it right there. Coach Kanye, what are you working on? What are your upcoming projects?
Mm. Okay, I have a few.
Yeah.
Um, right now, well, now I have a group coaching program that's starting up in May. I enroll on a month-to-month basis. So my next round is May, and all that is linked in my bio for how to apply. My next project that I actually want to work on is, I really want to get coaching into universities. So that's something that I'm working on now. Like, I get a lot of students applying for my programs, and obviously students cannot afford my programs.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring out how to get into universities. That's the next step for my practice. Um, I'm going to London, so I'm working on promoting my book. My book is called You Belong Here. I would say for your queer audiences, they can also read my Traveling While Black and Lesbian book. It's I think they'll enjoy it. Yeah, man, I'm just working on growing the practice, helping and serving as many people as I can.
Mm,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
short,
I'm working on a better program to work with men.
Okay.
I want to coach men. Yeah, I think, but I'll start with like five and see how it goes. Just like a group of five men. I haven't really ironed it out. But when I go back to the States, I think I'll start my first group of men in May as well.
What is it about
Yeah.
coaching that you like the most?
People. I like people. I love people. I think the coaching practice has allowed me to really connect with human beings. I love this experience that we're on. We are just having an experience here. And what I love about coaching is I get to be someone's guide, I get to be someone's accountability partner, I get to be someone's different perspective. We look at life like this, all we see is our shit. When we're in a storm, we don't see the eye of the storm. We
Oh,
see this
yeah, yeah.
thing that's like wreaking havoc in our lives. And as a coach, I get to be that little dot where I can be like, hey, there's an area of growth here, and all you're seeing is destruction. All you're
Mm,
seeing is the flame, but what you're not seeing is what you get to create when these flames die out, because they will nothing last forever. So
yeah.
I get to be someone's different perspective.
Any message for someone who's depressed, who's having hard time?
Um, hmm, hmm. I would say depression is a manifestation of pain.
Mm,
And when we stay in that depressive state without asking ourselves, what is the depression asking to heal? Depression is, I've been through something that has made it feel hopeless to
mm,
exist.
mm, mm,
And what has gotten me through, I still get depressed, like, um, and I have been able to track the pain that causes the depression and understand that the depression is not what I should be focusing on. Yes, it sucks.
yeah.
And what I get to focus on is, why am I depressed? So
Mm,
it's just like, I'm depressed. Why? You know?
yeah.
And so if you are listening and you are depressed, there is a pain that you need to pay attention to. And sometimes a lot of us have with I work as a trauma informed coach,
Yeah.
and that just means that I understand that as human beings we don't just function the way that we function out of nothing.
Mm,
We function the way that we function because we've been through some shit.
yeah.
We've been through some shitty shit, and that shitty shit somehow I curse a lot. I hope this is not like a
Yeah,
religious
it's
podcast
okay.
because okay.
It's okay.
And that shitty shit, it has been our point of reference to life. Some of us live our lives through the vintage point of that shit. And so when I have a client that says, I have low self-esteem, you are not born with a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Stuff happened to you that made you have low self-esteem. So I can't just be like, do this to have self-esteem. The work that I get to do is, why though? What are the
Oh,
messages that you received? Who told you that you are not worthy and you are not enough? And who told you that you are not going to amount to anything? So if I don't start the work from there as your coach, I'm not doing you a service, because all I'm doing is bandaging a wound
oh,
that will
yeah.
always
Yeah.
come back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to share with us?
Um, I want to talk about authenticity real
Yeah.
quick. I think like we are so like I think as the mental health space, which is what I work in, and the wellness space and the mindset space is like be authentic, be authentic, be authentic. What we don't talk to people about is that there are consequences to authenticity.
Mm.
And then also the thing of like some people don't even know who the fuck they are. What are they
Oh.
being authentic to? So when we say to someone, be authentic, it's like, but who are you? Do you even like this person that you have to be authentic as? Right? Some people don't even like who they are. Some people don't even love who they are. And so
Yeah.
the work of authenticity is not like just be authentic. It's like the fuck, I don't even know who I am. I have lived most of my life trying to be who everyone thinks I should be. I am layers and layers and layers of masks and
Mm.
pretense and people pleasing that I don't even know who I am. And so when I invite you to authenticity, I am inviting you to take off the masks, and there are consequences to taking off the masks.
Yeah.
Some of us lose relationships when we take off the masks. Some of us lose jobs. Some of us lose parts of ourselves, right? And so authenticity is not this cute, easy thing to do, but I'll tell you this, it is one of the most worthy things to.
Because of time, we have to cut it. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for your
you're
time.
so welcome.
You're so
You're so
amazing.
welcome.
Where can
Oh,
people get hold of you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Life Coach Kanye. I'm on TikTok as Life Coach Kanye. My email is coachkanye@mnyaka.com. I'll type it in for you in case you need this information for you.
Okay. This is this is the question which I ask all my guests. When it is all said and done, Kanye, how would you like to be remembered?
Hmm. That I was someone, why is this making me want to cry? That I was someone who looked beyond what people were presenting,
Mm.
and that I created a space for them to show up in the most vulnerable ways and feel seen, heard, held, and loved.
This has been so amazing. And I'm not, I'm not, thank you so much for your time. I
You're
really,
so
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Oh, no